What is good, surfers? We're back. Another live stream. We're hanging out today. It's Friday, so we're chilling. Nothing too intense, too formal. We got our buddy Crypto Coffee here. He's the founder of TopHat, project we've collaborated with vis-a-vis the Surf token, really since the beginning of Surf launch. So very pleased to have him on here. What's good, man? Please introduce yourself. If you don't mind, let's just start with some brief introductions of your background and so on in crypto, and we will take it from there.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel called Crypto Coffee 369 on everything. Been in crypto, 10 years now at this point. So I've been around. I've seen a lot of things come and go. I got into Hex in 2020 and been a Pulsechain, kind of a Pulsechain maximalist. Obviously, I do branch out, so I can never call myself a full maxi on anything. But I know a lot about what's worked, what doesn't work. I've got some experience in, working for finance companies, tech companies, involved in all sorts of things over the course of my life, but kind of settled on crypto, YouTube, and education, and kind of found my strong suit in that. So that's what we're doing. I want to teach the world how to get financially free and figure out how to do crypto the right way. I have a course available at hexpassiveincome.com, but mostly my content's just free, value-driven, and I just want to teach everyone the opportunity that's at stake because it does suck. It does suck right now. The markets are rough, but this is the best place to be when it comes to financial investments, in my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm placing my own bets heavily here, and I want to tell everybody else why it's so good. It's censorship resistant, peer-to-peer money that can actually pump past inflation, which is stealing your purchasing power every day. And in a nutshell, that's what crypto is. If you don't think that's important, I don't know what else to tell you, because it's kind of the most important thing. If you fix the money in the world, you fix a lot of the problems that go along with it. And we're very aligned on the financial freedom side as well. One of the problems that people have is not enough time, not enough freedom. So in order to buy your time back, you're going to want to put your money in things that can actually outpace inflation or generate yield, or both, which Pulsechain and Hex, they all do. A lot of these coins, even meme coins, right? Which is why we've got our favorite meme coins, TopHat, SURF token, being low liquidity, being new and kind of the meta of the cycle. These also have the potential to pump 10, 100, 1000x because of that low liquidity. So a little something for everybody over here on Pulsechain, and we're glad to have you guys joining the force as well. It's a pretty big movement. Pulsechain has become this huge thing. So what are you guys kind of focusing on within the ecosystem?
Well, yeah, so I think just your intro there for all the Crypto Paradise people, this is why you should give them a follow. I think is why we've resonated with you, wanted to work with TopHat, and kind of we believe in the same thing, as you kind of got to get out of this 9 to 5, but the hamster wheel of life can sometimes get in the way and prevent people from getting the easy education and get onboarded. The long day of work, and then by the time they eat and get their kids to bed, they just want to plop down on the couch and watch Netflix. And we're trying to produce short form content and long form content, and you have the the courses there. Just instead of plopping down and getting on Netflix, spend the hour, just listen back to one of these recordings, watch the live stream, dip your toes in the water and start to educate yourself to really change your financial freedom, your opportunity in life, because life passes you by quickly. And when you get caught in the 9 to 5, you get caught on the hamster wheel and the bills are due on the first of every month. It's really hard to dig yourself out of it. And, we're seeing that globally. Fiat spending power continues down to the right. The amount of debt that people have on credit cards continues up and to the right. And once you get in that hole, it's really hard to get out. So you got to start early, even with $5 a week. One of my buddies started in crypto, just dollar cost averaging $5 a week. And now after these 3 years of bear market, he's got quite the portfolio. He's hopped in TopHat, he's hopped in Surf, and he has capital now to take opportunities and to take risks. And, you can't get rich overnight, but you got to get started somewhere.
I totally agree. You talked about people just sitting around watching Netflix all day. And that's a huge thing, is how you manage your time, right? If you're not happy with where you're at in life, look at how you're spending the 24 hours in the day. I'm sure everyone's got a job, they work hard. But if you're going home and you're just, crashing on the couch and watching whatever is on cable TV or Netflix, that's not what successful financially free people do. And even if you were financially free, would you want to be spending the rest of your life just doing that mindless, consuming brain rot content? So I think people waste way too much time just consuming mindless media and then sit around and wonder, why they're not advancing. Because there's very simple things you could do. Just turn off the TV, get rid of your TV in your house. Just get rid of it. There's almost nothing valuable that can come off of it other than maybe casting an educational YouTube documentary to your TV. But if you're just watching, storytellers online, you're the consumer. You're never going to get ahead. I see so much of that. On top of that, I think a lot of people just drink and do drugs a lot, which we all do from time to time. But if you're spending,
pick your spots.
If you're spending all of your post 9 to 5, Alex Hormozy calls it the 5 to 9, right? What are you doing in your 5 to 9? Are you getting good, consistent sleep, or are you drinking a couple beers with your buddies at happy hour, coming home and watching some sports games, right? Like, bread and circuses was that Marcus Aurelius who talked about that's the way to quell the masses, to kind of put everybody in a state of, what's the good word for that? Complacency, kind of neutering society by just caring about, who won the big game, or
Right.
memorizing all these mindless statistics, or what
That's
did
sports
Elon,
are.
right?
Yeah, that's really what modern sports are. And we had a spaces earlier when we were talking about that. Like, we touched base on Trump and Elon for like a minute, and it's because other than that, it's all speculation, drama. It's not providing any real value. It's like, all right, Trump and Elon feuding caused a minor dip. We think they'll reconcile it in the end. We don't think it impacts markets for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That's really all that anybody knows. That's really all that should be said. But we saw all last night into this morning that people were spending hours and hours and hours dissecting every tweet, all this. What value does that bring to you or your portfolio? Virtually zero. That could have been hours of educating yourself, getting a course, getting your first investment, bridging assets to Pulsechain, whatever it is. So just be hyper aware of how you're spending your time. And every topic probably needs some time, but some need much less than what people give them.
It's annoying to see that kind of shit, though. I gotta say, if Elon and if the most richest man and the most powerful man could just stop fighting and make my bags go up again, that'd be great. What else is there to say? It's like, okay, Trump kind of screwed Elon over. Elon got mad and emotional, fired off some emotional tweets. I think they just need to kiss and make up. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a one single red daily candle that maybe crashed Ethereum, 7%. It's kind of like, if it wasn't that, it would be something else, right? And in the next couple of weeks, we've already retraced a lot of that move. I don't think this little feud is anything more than bread and circuses for the masses. It's like the E-network, but for people that are addicted on X, It's just a little bit of a different flavor of drama. You can't control it. You can hope that they figure and work things out, which I think they're hopefully reasonable people. But now everyone's jumping to, the Epstein list and World War III, and it's like, calm down, guys. Like, you're just gonna make yourself anxious over something that you have no control about at all. But it is depressing, It's just fucking like, can we please get a couple of good weeks, please?
Yeah, I mean, the way you mentioned sports and Netflix, that's how I feel about social media, which I actually think is worse in many respects. And that's funny coming from a guy who's like living essentially comes from like YouTube and X, but I think people waste a lot more time on social media. They're designed to be addictive in a way that sports and Netflix, maybe Netflix a little bit, but sports is, it's a contained thing. But in any event, I do think a lot of people in the world, best friend people in the world, need to wake up to the power of investing, time in the markets, compound interest, DCAing into, finite assets like Bitcoin, et cetera. People need to do this. Absolutely no doubt. I'm glad you speak to that. We speak to that all the time. I want to turn it to another segment of people who are already aware of crypto, aware of Bitcoin, et cetera. They're in the markets, but they're gambling and they're speculating on memes. I think that's another part of it, right? Like, all our buddies who are not in crypto, you guys should get into crypto, dollar cost average, just do basic stuff, stop wasting your time on fucking whatever and invest a little bit. Okay, that's that segment. How about this segment that's just full degen out and become essentially gamblers on pump.fun or whatever? What do you say to those people? How do you bring them maybe more to the mainstream and get them out of the casino a little bit? Or do you not talk about that?
A lot of people, they get into crypto for the degen gambling side. That's why I've chosen some meme coins that hopefully can relate to that aspect of people. And so have you. I like most token, surf, TOPHAT, some of these meme coins on Pulsechain. They've got staying power. But this is people's gateway drug a lot of times. And then they realize, hopefully as they stick around a little bit, oh, wait, there's actually some serious innovation happening here. It's digital, decentralized money that can't be shut off by a corrupt government, where I can send you $100,000 in 10 seconds and not have to tell my bank why I'm doing it or beg for permission to get my cash out. And, once the entire world is using this, once there's a crypto wallet baked into everyone's phone, you're going to have equality, equal opportunity for anyone to send money to anyone. It's going to be a better place to live. Hopefully the prices will also be hundreds of X's higher because all this made up money that they're printing at the Fed has to flow somewhere. And it flows into equities, but
I'll be right back. Hold on, guys. Sorry, someone rang my doorbell.
Yeah, sure. So yes, it flows into equities, but when it flows into the much less liquid category of crypto, you get much, much larger pumps. It's only a matter of time. Things aren't playing out to the perfect 4-year cycle that everybody wants. But, we're humans. We really want things to be predictable, but we live in a chaotic, unpredictable world. All you got to do is see the patterns crystallizing. And are there more people using crypto? Is there innovation happening? Is it getting easier to use? The answer to all these questions is yes, slowly. But now this time we've got institutions getting in. We've got ETFs. We've got Bitcoin topping before the halvening. So this cycle is a little bit different. I just think it's going to take longer for things to really play out while you kind of get those big banks entrenched in the system. How do you feel about all that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things that you touched on there. Number one, I think it is important to differentiate from the 5K pump fund launches and then actual meme coins that have communities or utilities behind them. And why I do like, even pump tires on Pulsechain is, it's similar to pump fund, but at least pump tires, all the economic power is staying within the Pulsechain ecosystem via locking PLS and burning PLS, burning PLSX. We saw with Pump Fund, they've extracted $700 million from Solana in the crypto market, and now they're trying to raise another $1 billion.
And so I know because they dumped the Solana.
Exactly. So I know, that Pulsechain hasn't caught on yet, but I like the benevolence of the devs or Richard Hart or whoever's behind it, and kind of copying products that are working on other chains, bringing them to Pulsechain slowly, and they always seem to be more benevolent or keeping that economic power within the system, which over time is going to push the network higher. And I know, like you touched base on, hey, this isn't the perfect 4-year halving cycle. There's been no alt season yet. And to that, I always say, exactly. For the people on Pulsechain that are getting burnt out and are complaining about price of the blue chips, you got to start to venture out a little bit. Look, TOPHAT, I have a chart here, is up massively off the lows. SURF went from 11K to 3.5 million. PC went from 300K to 350 million. So there is winning opportunities, and all these altcoins that are winning is slowly but surely pumping the price of the cores. It's creating higher floors due to the token economics of PLS and PLSX. So keep that in mind. If you think you've missed them, understand that assets and altcoins that are performing well, whether it's on Pulsechain, Solana, BSC, that are performing well now when there is no alt season, when Ethereum's still sub $2,700, what do you think they do when the underlying network tokens pump? They are going to have staying power. They are going to be the winners of the cycle. They're going to have the narratives of this cycle. This is what we always say. Let your conviction plays in your winners run and cut your losers go. Let them go. Mm-hmm. Sell your losers and roll them into your winners that are performing well before alt season has started. It's really easy to pat yourself on the back and you want to skim off TOPHAT, you want to skim off SURF or PTGC because that's what's winning and you feel good about taking profits. But I'm telling you, you're selling too early in the cycle on those assets. Meanwhile, you're letting other assets literally go to zero.
I agree. We haven't really seen the true pump. It's the people that have the plan are going to be resilient and they're going to outperform in the long run. A lot of people, when they make a meme coin, it's a 2-week pump and dump, maybe 2 months, but they don't actually believe in it. So I like the coins with people behind them. Me, you, even B-Roots. I was kind of skeptical of that guy at first, but he'll stick with a couple of coins. Yeah, he might rotate and be more degenerate than most other people, but he at least puts his face and reputation behind things. And everybody just wants to think that there's a master plan. And all the master plan really is people that aren't giving up and that are staying persistent and coming up with creative ways to potentially pump these coins, meme coins or not. So when the attention comes back, where is it going to flow? We're no longer in an information economy. We're in an attention economy. So that means that it's not always just about having the best products. It's about marketing and where are we directing people's eyeballs and consciousness. And that is this little SURF TOPHAT, collaboration that's growing. And it's a lot of other coins. Like there's not just going to be 1 or 2 winners on Pulsechain. I still think PulseX and Hex and maybe even INT token are going to come back very hard, but they are the heavier objects to move. And when people come into Pulsechain for the first time, they buy Pulse as their gateway drug, but then they go speculate on, hundreds of other coins out there. That said, when Richard Hart does come back to create his own attention vortex, I believe those core coins are also going to suck the liquidity out of almost everything else as well. They're going to have their time to shine, but people have only seen them go down for basically 2 years now, ever since Pulsechain launched. just people also forget though that times were not so bad about 1 year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. In March of 2024, we saw PLS break past sacrifice rates. So bad times don't last forever. Everything is cyclical. Just hang in there a little bit longer. And wouldn't you hate it if you shook yourself out at this point? Imagine telling your future self when Ethereum is $10,000 that you got scared and shook yourself out now. You would just have instant regret. Like so many of these Bitcoin, Ethereum people, there's a guy digging up his old house to try to find his hard drive of Bitcoin because he just wrote it off and now it's worth $700 million. So who knows what's going to happen in 10 years, let alone 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. And I mean, for the Pulsechain side of things that people are getting burnt out too, it's like, you talked about it. If Ethereum was ripping and roaring at new all-time highs at $5,000 and Pulsechain wasn't doing anything, then I would be concerned. But right now, Pulsechain's entire existence, it's had some ups and downs and had some good moments for sure, had altcoins that have already been winners, and now we see the new batch of altcoins, potentially TOPHAT and SURF, that can ride this next wave from Pulsechain, is all while Ethereum is down and to the right as well. Ethereum hit $4,000 and has been down and to the right since December of 2024. 6 months straight down and to the right, and we're finally potentially finding a low here and getting some signals. And until Ethereum breaks over this downtrend line, about $2,700, there's no momentum for altcoins at all. So a lot of people are looking to Ethereum, but also the market is looking to Ethereum. There's tons of altcoins that have liquidity bonding with ETH. ETH has historically been the leading indicator for other networks to start to get speculation on and get the hype rolling and the momentum going for altcoins. So we're all kind of standing and watching for ETH here. And the price action of Pulse is not surprising when you understand that Pulsechain not only has liquidity bonding to Ethereum, not only has Hex on Ethereum, but also has massive sacrifices bags on Ethereum as well that are currently underwater based on when they were bought. So, for all those things to line up, we're rooting for Ethereum as well. And there's no mistake why Richard Hart tweets at Vitalik, tweets at Ethereum, and really has been trying to kick him in the ass to get things going because he understands this as well. And he understands the whole market is kind of relying on the strength of Ethereum moving forward.
Well, they made some interesting moves lately, didn't they? The Ethereum Foundation. They fired a lot of people, which is probably a good thing. People that were sitting around not doing much. They redirected their strategy, the roadmap. They launched Pectra, which is going to be a huge user experience upgrade when more people use it and adopt it. And I just think that Vitalik seems to have shifted his tone a little bit into realizing that, wait, we might fall behind if we don't take some big moves here. So they've got a new president, right, of the Ethereum Foundation, and a new roadmap, privacy focused, which is good. So yeah, we're struggling to get past. I mean, we're 50% down on ETH after 4 years, but I think things are looking up. You still have the best developer community over there, the most innovation, the most stablecoin liquidity. When everybody wants to build a solid app on the most secure settlement layer, they're going to choose Ethereum. It's got the most Lindy effect. It's been around the longest, and it's way more useful than Bitcoin. Not to mention, you've got institutions realizing this. They've got ETFs. They're trying to get their staking ETFs approved, so you can have yield-bearing ETH ETFs, but they just got rejected, I think. Just give it a little more time. Everything's lining up. I don't think Ethereum is going anywhere at all because it's the thing that everybody else copied.
I don't think it got rejected. I think it's been delayed because they normally push it out until the nth moment, and they delayed it until October, I think. They were trying to do a workaround one. There was some institution trying to do a workaround one. I don't know what came of that. But the primary one, they extended the deadline. The SEC extended their own deadline until October. They always do that, so not out of the ordinary. But yeah, ETH is going to be fine. I think people need to realize, look, crypto, outside of Bitcoin has taken on its own narrative with digital gold for the most part over the past few months here. But crypto, ETH, all your favorite altcoins, they are risk-on assets. Risk-on assets normally don't do that well when the Fed is under sort of a tight quantitative stricture, right? Quantitative tightening. Rates are high. They're selling off treasuries, right, as they have been doing for the past 2 years, right? Risk on assets historically really only do well, or they shine most, I should say, when it's quantitative easing, when Fed is lowering rates, Fed is buying treasuries, right? So that has not happened in a long time. They've been trying to fight inflation, blah, blah, blah. They're definitely late. Too late Powell is an apt description, I think. I know Trump says that. I think it's very true. They're always reactive, not proactive. Even the Europeans are being more proactive than the Fed is now.
I think European Union now has had 10 cuts. We've had
they just did one yesterday, right? I watched Christine Lagarde's whole speech. She's not a very good public speaker. She was talking out of her ass most of the time. But they're cutting rates. They're cutting the rates. Fed needs to wake up, cut rates. But as an investor, right? I thought you brought up a great point. Do you want to be that guy that sold early? And look, I'm not talking about if you need the money, you got to pay bills, you got to put food on the table, you got a crying baby needs diapers. We're not saying don't sell in that scenario. But most of the time, in most cases, people who are invested in crypto, this is money that they have set aside for investment purposes. This is not money they need to live on. And that's always our advice, right? Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, blah, blah, blah. That's what everybody says. So this is investment money. When you're talking about investment money, you need to have a long-term time horizon. You just said, Crypto Coffee just said it. Think long-term. Don't be that guy that, 5 years from now is the guy that sold ETH when it was super low, relatively low, or, lost your private keys. You're just like, oh, this crypto thing is done. And then 10 years from now, you're like, oh my God, my bag would be worth $100 million. Like, don't be that guy. Understand where we are in the cycle. And it's going to be okay. It is all going to be fine. It's going to work out. The Fed's going to cut rates. This whole tariff stuff is mostly in the rear view. The big, beautiful bill is going to get passed. That's bullish. So there's a lot of macro stuff lining up that's positive. Just hang in there if anyone's thinking about selling and, oh, I'm done with crypto. I'm done with investing. That's not how you make it. You don't make it by selling when time gets tough. Just hodl on if you don't have dry powder to add. And wait for better times.
Yeah, and Crypto Coffee, you were talking about it a bit there, that you thought, things might be a little delayed here with the cycle. And I've been kind of preaching that too, saying, look, I think the 4-year halving cycle could break this time around and could break for the long term. The reason I say that is many things. Number one, I think tariff and some of the black swans have slowed down this market cycle. We haven't seen the altcoins yet. We haven't seen quantitative easing yet. We haven't seen the Fed rates, which we think are going to come, which I think could extend risk on assets into 2026. And we'll see from there. Also, I think what's interesting is institutional money is coming in a big way to both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And people don't understand how much money that the institutional players have, pensions plans have, 401k plans have, and kind of what their investment strategy is. And that is getting in and having it for the long term, especially if we get like the dividend paying, yield paying Ethereum spot ETFs. That just means they're going to be even more long term on it. And BlackRock and those institutions benefit off that. They collect money on the fees for the AUM for getting their clients to stay in it. And they collect money on the fees from these dividends or these yield-paying investment instruments and keeping people in them. And, when we saw the gold ETF became a thing, it went on a 10-year bull run. And that's because there's essentially dollar cost averaging into the gold ETF every 2 weeks by paychecks based on the portfolio breakdown. And I think the same can happen for Bitcoin and the same can happen for Ethereum. And we might surprise people to the upside and just the longevity and duration of the bull market that we see this time around now that we have these big players on board. We have cities on board, states on board, countries on board, businesses on board. And, the Bitcoin strategic reserve narrative is just getting started, and that's driven Bitcoin over 100,000. And now I think the next narrative is going to be the Ethereum strategic reserve. And we're starting to see that. A company, Something Gaming, did 450 million raise for an Ethereum strategic reserve. We see Coinbase buying a ton of Ethereum, more Ethereum than they're buying of Bitcoin. They don't have much Bitcoin on the books, and now their Ethereum holdings are catching up. And I think this is going to be the narrative that kind of drives alt season and that drives the crypto market moving forward here, leading into the end of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty uneventful in terms of the micro. When you're looking into the markets right now and everyone's selling and depressed, but what does all that complaining get you at all? We can only do what's in our control, and we can only. But let's point out some of the positive frames that you have right here. Okay, the strategic Ethereum reserve, Pulsechain sacrifice at number 2 here. But the Pulsechain sacrifice wallet holds more ETH than the U.S. government. Okay, think about this frame of reference. Why are we so bullish on Ethereum? Why do we want it to go up? And look at what's tied to that. The number one blockchain that's tied to the success of Ethereum is Pulsechain. So Ethereum goes to 10K. I'm reasonably sure that Pulsechain is going to have a very good time as well. But only the patient people are going to be rewarded. If you're sitting around complaining on the internet, it's just going to be a miserable, vicious cycle for you. It's almost like you're looking for a reason to sell. You're looking for somebody to tell you to sell. Just hang in there. Don't shake yourself out. And just, this is some on-chain proof of how big of bets are being made right now.
Unless you literally have a crying baby and you are out of diapers for them, do not sell. That's my message to you guys. There's no point in selling right now. The market's boring. It's down. But come on. Just hang in there. If look, I've been holding Ethereum for as long as who can remember. And it's just there, and I'm just going to keep holding it. I don't need the money. I could use it, I guess, but I make enough every month to cover my monthly expenses, so I'm holding on to my investments, right? I don't look at my investments as, oh, this is a means of buying stuff, right? I look at my investments as I hold on to these things for many years, and then I can legit retire, or way earlier than I otherwise could have. So that's, I think, there's some people that get it, some people that don't. I do want to talk about Pulsechain specifically, and I'm curious on Crypto Coffee, like, how did you get into Pulsechain? What are some things you like about it? What are some things you don't like about it? Let's talk about your Pulsechain journey a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was following Richard Hart, the founder, since maybe 2017, some of his earliest videos. I was there early on Hex. I was a believer in everything that he was saying at the time. So when Pulsechain launched, when the sacrifice happened near the top of the cycle, of course, I was all in and very excited. Obviously, caught in the euphoria like everybody else, but looking at the fundamentals, that's enough of a reason to stick around. Obviously, you've got a great community, founder, and vision, but it's just solid decentralized tech that works. It's not recreating the wheel. Pulsechain's a better Ethereum, cheaper and faster Ethereum. Pulsex is a better Uniswap. Hex, if the price goes back up, Hex will be considered a better store of value than Bitcoin because it's yield generating and makes trustless interest. Pulsex being Uniswap with a buy and burn. A lot of these are just iterations of things that have already worked. So that was the narrative that I bought into ultimately, just in addition to having great community founder and everything else. What I wish I saw more of, and I don't want to downplay all the builders because everyone's building awesome stuff and we've forked every successful protocol, it seems, onto Pulsechain. NFTs, DeFi stablecoins, you name it, meme coins, we've got it over on the Pulsechain network. But as far as original innovation, I guess this is more of a criticism of all of crypto. What's going to be the next big thing that'll actually shake up the markets? What do people really, really want? Is it going to be some kind of AI combo with crypto? What does that look like? And we need some of these new innovative digital products. I'd like them to launch on Pulsechain or even real world assets. Real world assets is big, gaming, AI, all these sectors that are adjacent to crypto that have been getting a lot of hype in the crypto sphere. I'd like to see some original firsts being done on Pulsechain, which I don't currently see. But it's opportunity. What about you?
Well, for myself, I actually think Pulsechain is more innovative from what I've seen than what's happening on a lot of other chains. The sad fact of the matter is, by the way, when you said, we need that next big innovation, the first thing that came to mind was the last big innovation, believe it or not, was Pump Fund.
It was.
You can't argue with it. I mean, and that's what the masses wanted. Mm-hmm. They make the casino easier, right?
Yep.
But any event, what I'm seeing, because I'm relatively newer to Pulsechain, what I'm seeing on the dev side is, okay, maybe not. We're not talking about some groundbreaking stuff, but iterations, improvements on maybe existing innovations, built upon, improved upon, deployed on Pulsechain. There is a thriving ecosystem of DeFi builders on Pulsechain, the likes I have not seen in a long, long time. It feels like every token that I come across has integrated a DeFi component one way or another, whether that's like Emit Farms with their farming protocol they've built. We have a pool over there, Surf does, whether it's the Surf token itself, whether it's even TOPHAT. Like, I think every coin I'm coming across having a DeFi component, sustainability component. I've not seen that. That's not the case on Solana, right? For example. So I think Pulsechain does do a good job. Maybe it's not groundbreaking stuff. Maybe it's iterative. But I think there's somebody said there. I think the big thing holding Pulsechain back, some of the UI is clunky. Some of it needs to be improved upon. Like when I go to Pulsechain.com and I go to the swapping tool, it's just a little bit. It's not as clean, I think, as like a Uniswap, for example. And then Richard Hart himself. I haven't followed him super closely up until recently. But I just feel like some of his tweets, maybe he's just really, really smart, but like some of them don't make a lot of sense to me. If I go through, I'm like, what is he trying to say here? Like what is, like, it's a little philosophical perhaps, but like, the way he communicates, I don't know. I wish he deployed himself a little bit better. And I know he's got that other case hanging over his head. Maybe that's holding him back in some way. But, if Richard Hart could somehow deploy himself a little bit better, maybe play the game a bit more instead of being like, so critical of the industry. And there is reason to be critical, don't get me wrong. But what if he played the game and said, I want to cozy up. I'm trying to cozy up to CZ and get Pulsechain listed on Binance. Like, why isn't that happening, for example? So, little things, I think, maybe it's the case, maybe it's the mindset that's hanging over, that's there, that's, leading in this fashion where it's more decentralized, versus, the Binance approach. But, in any event, those little things, but I think Pulsechain is highly undervalued. That's the bottom line, right? Like, you can, as an investor, you could decide to invest in BNB, knowing all those wonderful things are there, and it's, the biggest exchange and blah, blah. But it's already number 3. What's the upside left? Why not invest in something that's a little bit more raw, some things to work on, things can be improved, knowing that those will become tailwinds, and the LS can shoot from, top 100 into top 50 into top 25, and you'll do massive gains. That's, put your investor hat on, and kind of, you need to look at the flaws or the challenges in a way that, that could be opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree a lot with what you're saying. And, right now I think kind of an echo chamber on Pulsechain, but again, it's hard to get more people on board Pulsechain. With Surf and Crypto Paradise, we're trying to do that, and we have done that and brought people over. But, with no alt season going on in the other chains, people are feeling poor. They don't have a ton of fluffy extra capital to bring over to Pulsechain right now, which comes with, alt season and Ethereum. So it's kind of a chicken and the egg right now, but I do agree with you. Some stuff is clunky on Pulsechain. I've also been a big advocate. I believe, we'll see what Crypto Coffee believes before we end this, that Richard Hart will come back and start doing live streams. And that's where Richard Hart really separates himself. He can debate or beat anybody in a debate. He can go on a 4-hour live stream and just talk about protocol and improvements and ideas, something that a lot of people can't really do, just free flow in live shows. And I think that will come back. The final SEC nail in the coffin for the SEC is later this month. And then we'll see if there can be a resolution with Interpol. And once he gets both of those settled, which I think he will, that gives him freedom of movement. That gives him freedom of speech. That takes the gag order from the lawyers. And I believe just him as a person, his belief system around this community, and then his ego will not allow him to want to go live and push Pulsechain and push Hex and push his ideologies for crypto. What do you think, Crypto Coffee? Because I know there's a lot of people in Pulsechain that said, we don't need Richard Hart, or Richard Hart will never live stream again, or this or that or the other. They were saying those things too before he did the recorded video, but now they changed it to live since they've already been wrong. I believe Richard still has good intentions. He's just being held back due to the cases, and his ego and mentality will not allow him to just disappear into the back. Because remember, he made fun of Satoshi Nakamoto for not being around. He's made fun of Vitalik for not being the good face of his chain. He's made fun of Charles Hoskinson for not being the good face of his chain. So that would be complete hypocrisy if he just disappeared into the shadows for Pulsechain.
He's not going anywhere. He's still very much alive and well in the background, putting out all these updates to PulseX. Yes, he does have the Interpol red notice, so that needs to get cleared up before he can live stream. But something tells me that he's chomping at the bit to get back to public live streaming. We're going to see that very soon. But at the same time, we've really seen what we're capable of without relying on a single figurehead. And if he wants to take a more backseat approach, I believe he will live stream. I believe he will get back to marketing. But there's a lot of stuff that I have reason to believe is going on in the background that people just don't see publicly. Like all these protocols, Liberty X Swap, right? Where did that come from? Finance, where do all these things, all the PulseX updates, PulseX itself, a lot of these updates don't just happen by magic, right? But you don't see Richard coming out and saying, hey, I did that, because he was in a situation where if you were expecting profit from him, that would just dig himself a deeper hole. So he's still on legal shaky territory. And I think people need to realize, but there's also, I don't think he's gone anywhere. I think he's been here the whole time and will continue to become more public as his legal situation improves. But in the meantime, of course I'd like to see him live stream again. Like, of course.
That's what got you in.
Yeah, of course. So. Interactive marketing is a great way to do things. Live streaming is a great way to shill your bags.
Yeah, I'm actually a believer. Sorry to cut you up. I'm actually a believer in some degree of centralization. And hear me out on this one. As an investor, right? And I know Bitcoin maybe is that asset outside of gold that doesn't need a figurehead. But human beings generally, they kind of take their cues from a leader. Mm-hmm. They take their cues from someone who's active, believes, has a vision, right? That's normally how companies are successful, right? Politicians. You know what I mean? Humans naturally want to follow a strong leader. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If it's a benevolent leader. If it's an asshole, okay, we got problems. But if it's a good guy who cares about other people's, success and so on, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I do think, Pulsechain has that almost, I don't want to call it a secret superpower, because people know about Richard Hart and what he's capable of doing. He hasn't been deploying himself in that way yet. And so that's a potential big tailwind when he comes out to the stage again.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of if, but when that happens, when he comes back. A lot of people forgot what it was like because he hasn't done anything live streaming in 2 years. But it also begs the question, if he was during this bear market, quantitative tightening, how much would that really have pumped things. You know what I mean? Or there's only so much content you can make when there's like a global economic crisis going on.
And
true.
I think that's a good point. What we've been talking about too. Like if you use all your funds or you deploy all your tips and tricks, your secrets, when overall general markets are down and to the right, you're really trying to swim upstream, and the impact that that's going to have is going to be much smaller than it would be if you just had a little bit of patience, got some more weak hands out, and waited for the tides to be more favorable, and then you deployed all your tips and tricks, all your secrets, your marketing budget, etc., and you're going to get way more out of that and go way further and get more eyes on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Retail isn't here right now. There's people checked out. All the retail in the market right now is down 20, 30, 50, 80% on most of their altcoins, and they're trying to chase 2x and 3x gains rather than find conviction plays, find long-term gains, and that's going to switch. It's just a matter of time, waiting for Ethereum, waiting for quantitative easing, and waiting for the new wave of new market participants to come in here. And hopefully by then there's an easier way to get them onboarding into Pulsechain, because we are going to see an uptick in retail users for Coinbase and Robinhood and Binance US and Binance, the normal places. And we just hope that there's some compatibility to easily get them bridged over to Pulsechain, or maybe Pulsechain will finally be integrated with some of these centralized platforms.
We had an MEXC listing for a while before they delisted us. But did that really make the number go up at the time? It's not like these things happen overnight. I do agree it would be great to have a Binance listing, and I think these things are in process. I'm not saying we don't need all that, but the timing is everything. And when to deploy, you don't want to show all your cards early at a time when no one's even enthusiastic to care, and no one's even around to care about it. So I think it all is just a matter of waiting for the right conditions, the right market conditions, before you engage all the maximum pumpage, like all the shill power that you have. Like, he's got a ton of tools in his arsenal. I still have faith that all these things are going according to some plan behind the scenes. Can't really say any more than that, other than we gotta wait and see how things shake out. But I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to 2021 when alternative chains were exploding in popularity. That took a bullish period. That took a bull market. Polygon wasn't going to be successful the way it was and shoot from obscurity essentially into top 10 unless the market was bullish. Even BSC perhaps would have struggled. Although, of course, having Binance by its side is helpful. AVAX, where I remember Avalanche was hot for a while. You could go on and on, but almost none of the layer ones became popular and successful in a bear market. And that just makes sense because people don't have money to bridge over the new thing. Nothing is happening on the new thing that's causing them to bridge over because nothing's really pumping anywhere, right? It takes the green candles for you to say, okay, I'm going to get up out of bed and figure out this bridge, and I'm going to fucking add this, new chain to my MetaMask. It takes the possibility of making money before you're going to put in that effort. So I do think Pulsechain, and there's probably this doesn't even apply only to Pulsechain. There's probably a lot of chains or products out there that are sort of waiting for their time to shine, so to speak, for when the market's pumping. That's only logical. So yeah, I don't know anyone's thinking about just giving up now. Don't give up now. Like that's one of the biggest takeaways I think from this live stream. Just hang in there, folks. It's all going to work out. We got to wait for some of these headwinds to adjust and shift into tailwinds, and it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I'm certain about the founder is that he's committed to his vision, and it's a long-term vision. And a lot of us on the chain have a long-term vision too, probably because we've been here for so long. We know it's not going anywhere. But that means thinking in years. If this takes another year to play out, we'll still be here. And I'm pretty confident, basically 100% certain that Richard's not abandoning or going anywhere. You just don't see him streaming for various legal reasons, and also just
he's still putting out tweets. So he's definitely not going anywhere. I wish his tweets made a little more sense to me. That was my only point. Like I don't like I'm trying to read it a couple times. Like what's he talking about? But in any event, I guess he's really smart. Is what it comes down to. But yeah, I mean, I think about Pulsechain too. Like you talk about the community side or the cult-like element. I think that's a really underrated aspect of it. Everyone we met on Pulsechain, super friendly, collaborative. The way the tokens are tied together in many senses through liquidity pairs. That's not the case on vast majority of chains. Like on Solana, there's like cabals trying to fuck everybody over, right? No liquidities are paired together over there. It's very PvP on Solana. Ethereum, I think unless you're super well capitalized, you have your super big, well-known VC backers, Unless you're that, you're not going to get support from anyone really on the chain. But Pulsechain is like, even if you're like a little guy who just wants to, add value in some small way, people will come to your support and help you out. And that's a very unique thing to Pulsechain. I do want to say that could be one of its secret powers.
Yeah, and I know we have a hard stop here with Crypto Coffee, but we just wanted to get you on here. I know I was on a recorded video with you. Hopefully TopHat and SURF can keep collaborating together. Hopefully our vision for Pulsechain and the entire crypto ecosystem keeps trending in the right direction. And you're a good voice in the space, so I definitely recommend everybody check out everything else that Crypto Coffee does. And understand there is a liquidity pool with TopHat and SURF. So we got to be rooting for TopHat. We got to be buying TopHat because when it goes up, it is going to drag SURF up higher as well, generate that volume, get our token tax kicking off, which benefits SURF holders in the crypto paradise community.
I was going to say the same thing. Check out some of those hidden yield farms too over on emit.finance. You get hundreds of percentage of APY if you like most, SURF, TopHat, you bond them together. That's kind of for the smaller players right now, but there's a lot of cool stuff we could say about our tokens that we'll leave for later, just because right now, if people are shaking themselves out, let them do it.
Right.
I predict there might be some fun things coming. Maybe some buy and burns, maybe some big whales. We saw the 555 Ethereum whale bridging in and buying some TopHat. So there's no tax on TopHat token. There is on SURF, but I know the DAO is very useful on your end as well. You brought tons of people over, and that thing is also a huge advantage. I love the fact that there's just a big treasury underlying SURF. That's pretty cool, guys. So pay attention when nobody else is, and you might be rewarded. Thanks for having me on. Go follow Crypto Paradise. I know I just retweeted this onto my channel, but if you're coming in watching on X, follow Crypto Paradise if you're not already.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you jumping on. This was awesome. We're going to have you on again soon. And we also got to invite you to the Crypto Paradise retreat. Don't let me forget that. We need you there down in Tulum, end of the year. Get out from behind the screen, hang out in real life. And we are going to drink there, though. I don't know about drugs, but we'll be drinking. So just, don't.
Sounds like a great time. That sounds like a great time. Definitely hit me up.
All right, guys. Great stuff. And until next time, see you on the beach.